Okay, hold on. I forgot I needed my chat up. I need to grab a bunch of stuff. Okay, we're good. We're good. All messages looks good, and then we should drop in computer-wise and send this link a few places probably, or at least one place. There's one place I'm thinking of. Come on, load up this stuff. Share. Copy. Alright, there we go. Alright. Now we are looking good. Okay. First thing, I want to get this little green thing that's here. So, it's right there, I guess, right in the middle. So, we're gonna jump up here and then jump down. Yep, okay, he found it. Right there. Okay, the last golden record. So now we have all of them. And we just have a handful of other things to do. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 levels and the boss to finish here. I don't think I'm going to get started on the big finale level today, even if I get to it. So, you know, if it takes me like 20 minutes to get through all these levels, I think I'm just going to end it there. But yeah, so it could be shorter. Turn that back on. Ah, this is an inkjet level. Interesting. So this is like a complete repeat from Octo Expansion, because in Octo Expansion they had a handful of these levels, but they weren't. They were good, but they weren't as interesting as the same levels in this mode, basically. In this story mode, they have you know, the like whatchamacallit levels, the whole the Spider-Man levels and the crab levels. The crab levels are all right, but it's really the what's that special? I can never remember that special name. Right, we're supposed to shoot it. Yeah, see, there you go. Got it. Okay. What is it? Something to do with Zipcaster. The Zipcaster levels are actually like pretty good, right? How am I missing? Well, like the inkjet's not designed to hit things that are the same height as it. I'm kind of surprised, actually, that these guys are new in Splatoon 3, because they're just sloshers. Like, right? Like, they never added or thought to include an enemy that was just a slosher, but on a normal guy. Like, they pretty much... They have a lot of the other weapons. just as like enemies, right? Like these guys are chargers. The normal guys are kind of blobbers, I guess, but they're just like shooters. I have to hit that. Yeah, there we go. And also then it, oh right, knocks it down. So this is kind of like a throwback level, right? So in Octo Expansion they have levels that are only the ink jet, and then they have levels that are only the baller, but only the baller levels are a bit lame. But so it's kind of like the test run, and then they really did it well with the Zipcaster and with the crab tank. Even the crab tank levels are pretty good, even though they're not as good as the Zipcaster levels. So that one's kind of like a throwback. Yes, this is kind of a map of the surrounding the Splatlands area. It doesn't really show much. I talked about this earlier, but the Splatlands is just like the former Tokyo metro area. It's kind of silly, but it is what it is. Okay. This one's called Torture Tower for some reason. I don't know why that is. Okay, we're probably good. Hold on. Let me... Actually doing all of the, like, going to every place on the map is a bit annoying. I will not lie at times. But, I don't know. It's cool that there's a reward for it, right? It's like free rewards, right? You're not going to be like, oh no, they shouldn't have added a random cosmetic for this one thing, right? Like, it's not like it's a really important reward to give, right? Like, it's not like, oh yeah, you have to get it. Oh, I chose the Splattershot Jr. I could have done my hero mode gear, and I probably should have, and I might go back. Actually, yeah, we will. We will go back. There's no harm. It's all 1400, so hero gear. The hero gear is pretty much superior, even in the early game, right? Because it just has buffs that are like free, right? It's got the whole, like, you can view where things are. It has 4 bombs instead of 1, right? Like, it's only the first few levels, which maybe you can consider it to be worse. But even then, it's not really true. It's just like even, maybe. Kill that guy. Ooh, there's a slusher. Get him. Did he get him? I don't know if Small Fry killed him or if... Okay, we got a key. This level's really cool. I like this level. It's kind of like a... It's got a lot of backtracking. It gives a kind of like pretty decent imitation of like what's it called? There's a certain term for it. Certain type of level design. Reusable, I guess. Backtracking level design. I don't know why he stomped over there, but it's good for me. These guys are so much harder to kill now. It's annoying, but it's also like the only way to make them viable. So, right? Like, they were just really bad. This part is surprisingly difficult. Like, this little section here, you'll lose way more than you expect. Well, I got 3 of them, 2 of them. I got him in the corner. Okay. He shot it. He shot my little buddy. This one's really a just go, go, go. In certain sections, like this section. Yeah, it's got a good amount of like backtracking, in a way that is more like, not accessible, but like it feels different than a lot of the other games, or a lot of the other like levels that have similar stuff, right? It's not like that one level from Splatoon 2 or Splatoon 2 where it's like 3 levels and there's an area where you go in and then you jump to each of the 3 areas to get all of the keys. Okay. Yeah, okay, so this next section is pretty interesting. They fast forward 5,000 years, kind of for no reason, and we'll see that in here. But there's kind of a random, oh yeah, and then after this happened, fast forward real quick, there was this random thing that happened, and it's important, or not really. It's kind of important. It's kind of not important. Unknown. Well, it's 5,000 years, so that means, like, it was 10,000. Okay, mini splatling. I like the mini splatlings, though, so. Oh, this is like a... Oh, I love this level. This level is great. I really like this concept. As soon as you get onto one of the little pieces, it starts falling down. So you have to actively just go. Ooh, ooh. The good thing is a lot of the things have pretty long times to death, right? Like they fall quickly, but they don't fall quick enough that you actually like. But they have little extra things here, right? That are just like that one. Oh, come on. I think this is probably the best new level that they've designed, right? Like, just look at this. Right? And the great part about it is that it's, it's crazy and it's kind of difficult, but it's not impossible, right? Like, you have a clear goal and you just go. Oh, that level... I hope they make more levels like that. If they continue with this sort of style that they've been going on, and they don't change anything too fundamentally in the expansion, I hope that they make a few more levels that have sort of that theme. This squid quickly rose to fame in the Splatlands due to some unique characteristics. Yeah, I don't know why they talk about this. The next little paragraph of the log is kind of pointless. Like, it doesn't... I guess it provides some interesting stuff, right? Like, lore is lore, and I like having more stuff. More stuff is better, but it's also not really, like, applicable. Alright, this level, I think, is pretty interesting, actually. This is a curling bomb only level. There are a few of these. I think there's 1 or 2 in Octo Expansion, and then... Oh, this one is interesting because... Yes, because we... Ah, yes. Now, the only thing with the curling bomb levels is that they don't really encourage you to think about it too much. It's kind of strange, right? Like, the answer is almost always just to throw the curling bomb immediately, right? Like, there's no real, oh yeah, we're gonna try to figure out how I need to do this curling bomb. I mean, they do manage to add some of it in here, but, like, usually you want it to go as far as possible. So, like, oh, did I get it? I think I got it. The only problem sometimes is you accidentally hit the ink in this one. Oh, this is like... There's a bunch of different stuff. The good thing is that they have a checkpoint that also adds time. Oh, right. The time limit's not really real. It prevents you from doing a kind of janky little thing where you just go... Ah, see, like, it's kind of the limit for, like, hitting it is pretty, like, lame. Ah, see, right, like, I barely touched it, and it said, nope, you're too bad. So that's the kind of, like, thing that is not ideal, I'll say. Oh, this is just... I don't think this is even gonna work. Oh, see, never mind, I'm good. Okay, what's this one look like? Ah, this one's weird. This one's really weird. I'll just go over here. And then we'll go up here. And the jump, right, like, kind of makes the whole, like, oh, you accidentally bumped the ink thing even more, like, stupid, right? Now, the only thing here is you gotta be careful not to hit the washer, because if you hit the washer, then you're just done. And you also have to go quickly because, you know, the washer will go over it, and then you won't be able to do anything. Same deal here, almost, except for the difference here is that you can ride on those little things, so, like, I can just do that. And then we're probably gonna be alright. Right. You can even do like a double thing, right? You can hit your ride on that one right there. But it's not too difficult. This one's... Okay. Okay, what's the next one? Interesting. Ooh, see that, like, that didn't count, but my other one did, right? Like, it's not a very, it's not a very forgiving sort of don't touch the ink rule. It's a very much a, if you slip up, you're just done. Like, they're not gonna do a, they're not really gonna mess around there. They're just gonna be like, nope, you're done, restart. I do like the name though, the enemy ink is lava. It's a good combination of levels because they combine the, you know, don't touch any of the enemy ink thing with the don't run out of ink plus the curling bombs. So it's really kind of a good gimmick combination that makes a pretty good level. Yeah, so 5,000 years later, they're like, there's a unique characteristics of a squid, and that individual was a prophet. Which is kind of out of, like, it's just out of, it's not quite out of left field, it's just kind of random, right? It doesn't really do anything, mean anything. I mean, we're not finished with it, but, like, there's, like, 2 left. Ah, Octarian Heights. This one is a more, like, this is kind of a classic level, right? If I remember correctly, this level is pretty much designed to just be, like the older levels. Or maybe I'm thinking of, we'll do Squiffer. I like the Squiffer. Oh, this is an enemy fight thing. Oh, yes. They do that first. I was like, wait, is this a fight room? No. They drop you down and show you this whole tower. And then they open it up. Can I get him? I almost can. Got him. But the thing with this one is you have to go around, right? Like, you have to go around the back and fight the guy, and random guys are gonna shoot at you. But of course it's more fun to go around and kill all of the extra guys first. Okay, looking good. Alright. The only thing that's not great about the Squiffer in this level is that, right, like the enemies don't all spawn at the beginning, so you can't just go around sniping all of them. You have to actually wait until you get far enough in the level that they spawn, and then... Nice, that was a good one. I'm pretty proud of my aiming in this game, just in general, right? I consider myself to be pretty decent at it, especially when compared to other shooters. Okay, so the triple link straight goes there, there, and there. And then we missed one. And we got it. That level's kind of just a fun extra one. It's not, like, particularly hard, unless you're... You know, if you've had a hard time with levels that are not gimmicky so far, like you've just had a hard time fighting things, then I guess you'll have trouble, but I mean, at this point in the game, it's not really feasible. It's not really, like, that's not really gonna happen. Okay, there's one left. Yeah. It was another turning point for Squid Clan during the period, the foundations for modern civilized civilization were laid. So, well, here, I'll just do the last level, and then we'll talk about all of the archives. Because there's some weird stuff. That last one is particularly interesting, but I don't know how much they really want us to read into it. Did we get everything? Yep, it's surveyed. Okay. The obscurest Chirocurist. Which I don't know what means for sure, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's, like, monk and or physician. I think that's what that word means. Or possibly, I believe it's a medical term. Now, this level, which I didn't know when I first played it, is actually a big reference to a former Mario level, which is it's pretty interesting. Big Man, I like Big Man the best out of the three. Big Man is weird because he doesn't fight realistically. Okay, so this level is apparently exactly like a level in Super Mario, the one for the GameCube, which is, the thing is, it's not that hard to find him, but, what was it, the Shine one? Oh, what's it called? It's the one that was kind of not good if you look at, like, comparatively. With Flood. Ooh. I don't remember what it's called. See, at this point in the game, though, you'll have, like... Right, you'll be maximumed out in terms of your gun. So you just spam and shoot until you hit on the one that's the right one. And then you just keep shooting him. Right, it's not a very technical level compared to the other... It's not a very technical boss fight in the grand scheme of things. Now, it does get interesting, and like if you enter this without full upgraded, plus he throws bombs at you, which is pretty cool. right, and he does specials. It's like, now, of course, you can always splash down, which kind of ruins the fun a little bit. What is it? Super Mario. That was a flop. Sunshine. Super Mario Sunshine. That's the name of the game. This level is apparently a recreation or pretty similar mechanically to a level from Super Mario Sunshine. So it's kind of a reference, I guess. Splatoon is secretly a lot more like Mario than people usually consider. It's kind of, like, the single player mode definitely, because of the sort of platform status and the fact that it's like a platform game. That game in particular, because Mario has the little like flood thing, is particularly similar, I think. But in general, the Splatoon games are actually surprisingly like 3D Mario games. They've just got a little bit additional mechanics to mess with, which is interesting. Okay. We won. The captain hates deep cut. Cuttlefish is here. Dad bless it. That's funny. Someone. Yep, it's Mr. Grizz. That's crazy. He's somewhere high up. There's only one place that's high up. Also, they're all underground though, so they're not actually high up, right? It's just context, which means that he's kind of, I don't know what the deal is with that. Mr. Grizz says that he will not get workers' comp, which, of course, is a very funny thing to say. And then he deals with him, I guess. I don't know what that means. And of course, awkwardly look over to the big rocket. Okay. Now, before we do this, because this starts the ending sequence, so I'm not doing this today. I will do this last time. No. Hold on. So, first, unlike Octo Expansion, it is not clear what this is at all. In fact, this doesn't even make sense after they put it together, really. It just is a thing. This is not an item which makes sense, really. Obviously, this is like an engine, this is like a chassis, and then the other one's like a bunch of blades. Which I guess... Well, I won't spoil it. You can kind of guess what's gonna happen, but it's not like Octo Expansion where you're clearly building a blender and then the characters act surprised when you almost get blended. Okay, Marie got the final map. I'm gonna talk about other stuff, but then we're gonna look up the high quality version of the full map. We have full hero gear now, so we can get the last one, which you can only get after you've finished, so this is only for the final level. But you can get it for the final level, so we have full hero gear, which gives us another reward, but it's not in this section. So, okay, log 6. It's just a picture of the squid. We already got through everything pretty much. So, to recap, well, here we already looked through the Sunken Scrolls last time. We'll glance through them again. Most of these are pretty normal. They've got some funny little moving things where if you move the camera around, things move. Like the eyes on those guys are moving. The tape is shiny. They've slightly improved it, right? Like it's laminated or the tape is shiny here. Here, the tape makes little motions in the thing. This one doesn't have anything, I guess. I mean, I guess there's tape, but it's not really shiny. Wait. What is it? Oh, the little guys on the left on the sticky note raise their eyebrows. You can see, yeah. This one is the most obvious one. The thing changes, the image changes. This one, the color changes of the salmon. They change from blue to a brown through green. It's kind of interesting. This one, I guess it's just shiny. They don't all have like animations, I don't think. I think some of them are just effects. Oh, this one on the left, the little origami big man is moving its eyes around. This one is just shiny. Seems. I don't see anything. Same thing here. This one, well, this one's shiny, but it has an oil painting effect, which is really cool. There's a lot of kind of funny things about this, but in general, right, I like the idea that they specifically made it in oil painting. That's kind of funny. Sheldon is pretty much just shiny, but these are the stickers you get from Turf War, so this is kind of a big deal. This is just shiny. None of this is moving. This is also kind of shiny, but it also has a cool 3D effect, honestly. Like, they really put a significantly more effort, I will say, into this Sunken Scrolls. This one, the sunglasses move around and have the squid things on them. This one, the stickers are shiny in the corner, which those sticker guys are weird. I wonder if they'll be important. I also really like the map up there in the top right. Very interesting. This one's just shiny. The picture's shiny. This one's the same deal, pretty much. I don't think anything's moving around. This one, the squid is like literally oily, kind of shiny. It's a cool thing. This one doesn't move around at all, it doesn't look like. I guess there's kind of a sheen on the album. I mean, the fact that it's actually like an album and looks like a CD is kind of interesting. This one is shiny, I guess. I don't see anything moving. Oh, and then this one in the corner, the lower right, the little fish in a basket is moving its mouth. Okay. But a lot of these Sunken Scrolls are pretty normal in how they present the information. And they just talk about stuff that's happening like in the current time, which a lot of it isn't super important. There's some interesting stuff about Deep Cut here. And then this is interesting. And then this one, obviously, I'm really, like, I don't know what the deal is with this one, but I've already talked about that. And, like, there's some interesting stuff here, but nothing, like, defining. So this one, let's go over the logs. So, we start with number 1. Basically, I really like how they've done this, because even though they are explaining the apocalypse more than they have in the past, they are still kind of genericizing it, right? They're not specifically going, oh, this specifically happened and everyone died. It's like a generic, like, oh yeah, things got bad and eventually a lot of people died and the earth became a barren wasteland. Also, it says the surface of the earth became a barren wasteland, completely inhospitable life. That implies that it's like vacuum or something, or like something very weird, because, you know, life survives in a lot of places. Even if it's like heavily irradiated or like near vacuum, things can still survive. So this could just be an exaggeration, or it could be important. And then, you know, a bunch of survivors found shelter in a vast cavern, clad cosmic volcanic eruption. Also, I'm pretty sure, right, like, if they're gonna say the fact that these people survived, unless they go into the lore and do a Fallout where they change the lore of the real world to make it work, assuming they're following what happens what has happened leading up to now in real time, presumably more people survived than only this group of people, which is pretty interesting. Potentially, they could go somewhere with that, or they could just ignore it. Either way, I think it works pretty well. The cavern provided shelter, and then a massive pool of accumulated seawater provided life. All manner of squids, octopuses, and jellyfish had propagated in the deep, so all of the people surviving had something to eat. They probably got pretty sick of fish, though. I'm not going to lie. Especially considering that this area is Japan, so they already ate a lot of fish. It probably wasn't great for their salt and oil intake. Anyway, the surviving humans were led by scientists, or appointed scientists, which is kind of an interesting distinction. It implies that maybe a lot of the people there weren't scientists, but that they chose to let the people... That's interesting. They decided to establish a sustainable ecosystem within the cavern, which is probably a good idea, although, I mean, the thing that's missing from these logs is like the actual discussion of what is preventing them from returning to the surface, and what is going on outside of the cave. Because, like, if you think about it, the people who are in the cave, especially if they're being led by scientists, are not like isolationists. They're not actively not going out, presumably, right? Like, there's no... That's not stated anywhere here, so... No. And then they started 3D printing stuff. And they 3D printed Moai heads because they thought they were cool. Which is weird, but I don't know. It checks out, kind of, considering that there's not a specific date on the apocalypse. If it happens within the next, like, 30 years, it's not unreasonable. And then they also created information management systems, record keeper, the omniscient recording computer of Alterna, which is Orca, which is the replacement for the sea cucumber in Octo Expansion. And I think this works a lot better than the sea cucumber because Orca doesn't have to actually be a character. Okay, on to 3. They advanced in science, actually, in this cave, which is pretty cool. It's pretty impressive, right? Like, it implies that they are doing something that is a lot... Like, they're actually doing a lot better than you could imply here. But they made liquid crystals from squids, which are probably made of oil and maybe some other stuff. I don't know if they're really crystals. Anyway, they this log says that the crystals could read minds. I don't know, like, I don't know how far they want to go with that, but it's a cool science fiction thing, so, like, it doesn't really matter. They can do that. And then they liked it. The people liked it. The people loved it. And they made the walls and roofs of Alterna out of it. And then... Oh, it took 25 years, by the way. See, the dates are actually pretty important. The fact that they put dates in here is pretty interesting. But it took them 25 years to go from near death to advancing science, which is pretty impressive. It means they're doing pretty well. Fourth, it grew like the population grew like a rising tide. So they're actually doing like really well, which is why it's really interesting that there's no compartmentalization or alternately like population compartmentalization, right? Like, so The scientists who were previously in charge decided to select new leaders to succeed them, which means that they had a pretty successful run of like 40 years. But that's not really surprising given the situation, so, you know. But the new ones were really good. But the new generation born and raised in deep Alterna, which means that, like, you know, they're at least... They've been in there at least 20, 30 years. But they already said that, so... The line, believing they deserve to behold the reality that existed outside of the cavern, is kind of weird. It kind of implies that, like, the people had hubris for wanting to go back to the surface, which is kind of an interesting stance to take, considering that they don't tell us what's on the surface, and also they don't tell us exactly how they got into the cave. So there's really no argument that, you know, they shouldn't go to the surface. But the elders who knew what awaited outside of the safe haven of Alterna, which kind of implies that the other people didn't know, considering that their society is built off of an information recording software. I'm pretty sure everyone knows exactly what is going on. So they built a giant rocket ship, which doesn't really make sense, even in context, right there underground. But I don't know. Sure, just go with it. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe they know that the cave is actually, like, only so many feet below the surface, and, like, they can definitely get through or whatever. Like, I don't know. Maybe it makes sense. But the rocket messed things up. The cavern began to shatter, raining debris down upon humanity. And then the last civilization of the once prosperous humanity, which I kind of doubt the whole last civilization thing, given the circumstances, but I don't know. They could say that here. And then the last line is really weird. The few who escape the carnage would soon follow it into death. I kind of directly disagree with this sentiment, right? Like, I think that if everyone dies, then everyone dies very quickly. If someone survives, they're probably going to survive, right? But, you know, they don't really explain it, so sure, whatever. It also doesn't explain at all how all of this area is now here. We won't get an explanation. We won't get anything close to an explanation of that until we get all the way to the end of the game. So we'll just have to wait. But it's still kind of a weird sort of thing. Plus, additionally, there are definitely more than one rocket here, right? There's one there. There's 2, 3, 4 just here. That's a satellite over there. And another satellite past them. Right? 5. And this is just from the one island, right? 6, 7, 8. Plus another satellite. Another 2 satellites. Like, so it's kind of not... the things that are in the archive don't exactly line up with how the actual world is, which is pretty interesting. There's definitely things they could go with that. I don't think they're going to stick with what's going on in Alterna for the expansion, but if they did, they do have places to go. I don't know if that's really what they want to do, because I don't know if it would extrapolate well into a full expansion. But they do have places to go. They could definitely make a narrative still using this area and this sort of world and this background. But I don't know if it would really work as a full story. Anyway, we went over this in the past few streams. The collapse of this civilization / area, city, caused large amounts of kind of pollution. Pollution's not exactly the correct word, because they don't really imply it as pollution, because they, you know, it causes things to evolve more quickly, which is actually good, right? Like, in the general scheme of things, causing rapid evolution scientifically at this point in history, from what we know of science, is actually pretty impressive and potentially good, right? Like, you don't know because nobody's actually done it yet, but potentially this is useful. And in the context of this story, it is definitely portrayed as a good thing, right? That the Alternan civilization caused a lot of fish species to become sentient. Also, the pollution. This is a bit more like gamey, that they bake this in, that the pollution that causes them to be sentient also causes them to wish to return to the surface. But they definitely cover their tracks here, because they go, spurred by these impulses and whatever else may have been floating in the polluted waters. So, like, they definitely cover it up to be like, oh yeah, this is how we're presenting the story. But if you look a little bit beyond that, you can tell that it's a little bit more, like, complicated and nuanced. Some species even gain extraordinary camouflage abilities. They're referring to the ability to go hide in ink, pretty much. They are also possibly referring... No, probably not. The, like, octopuses can also turn invisible, but this isn't really in Splatoon, so we're not going to talk about that because it's not seen. The point of no return arrived. The sea creatures, they're still calling them of Alterna, and they're also not exactly Inklings. They still kind of look like normal sea creatures. They just walk on land, which doesn't really make sense. It doesn't. Yeah, they just kind of go, oh yeah, they developed these things. Yeah. They also don't say how sentient they are. There's a bit kind of an implication there that they're not really fully sentient in this situation, but they are still, like, attempting to go to the surface somehow. It's very... This whole thing is very weird, but it's a good kind of, like, pseudo backstory for the idea that the entirety of Splatoon is caused by this society which exploded. And then they kind of go... They really speed this up, even in like normal context of, like, how quickly humans did the things that they are Splatoon is talking about the squids and octopuses doing. Humans did not do this as quickly as them, actually. Right, so 5,000 years in between them basically becoming, what's the word? Not even the original species. Like 5,000 years in between arriving on land and getting to every corner of the world. And, right, like, and starting civilization, kind of. Well, okay, so, like, 5,000 years between them. This section's hard to judge. It's the next section, which is actually really easy. The, squids and octopuses going from, I guess, last major shift in evolution to apex species in 5,000 years. I don't know the exact timing on that. But then 5,000 years to from right, like 5,000 years from... Okay, this last section is complicated. But it's 5,000 years to the creation of civilization, kind of, and or the last evolutionary shift for the species, which is pretty right. In 10,000 years, they went from non-sentient, almost the same as modern squids and octopuses, to sentient species with civilization, which humans took, I think, they estimate a lot more. I think 20,000, I think, is the current estimate. It's like half as much, I think. I think that's what it is. That they estimate that humans went, took 20,000 years to do that. But I'd have to look it up again. Anyway, there's a guy in the Splatlands who was a squid who had unique characteristics, and they don't say what these are, but it caused him to be, or them, to be embraced as a prophet. So this was both a religious and presumably political, since they say the foundations for the modern civilization were laid. So this was a combination political, social, and pseudo-religious, I guess, figure. So this is kind of like a almost Adam and Eve figure, but except for it's only 5,000 years. So they probably are less mythological, question mark. And the real kicker is this last line, that this squid is widely known and celebrated as the progenitor of the modern day inkling, which implies that everybody is descended from him. Every character here. So this guy not only changed, right? Like, imagine if the entirety of humanity was the species, the entire species could trace itself back to one single mutation of another type of human, of an earlier evolutionary human, who was technically a different species in the evolutionary chain, who, like, everyone could trace their lineage back to that guy. And also, it only happened 5,000 years ago, which in context, like, okay, 5,000 years ago is like the beginning of writing for us, kind of. I think we have, that's 3,000 BC, and then the beginning of recorded history is 4,000 BC. So, yeah, that's totally, like, recordable in terms of their civilization. So, we're looking at something that is pretty unique here. But, I think that's gonna be... Oh, I need to pull up that image of the whole map. Images. I want the images. Okay, this is what it looks like. This is a high quality one. Hold on. I will pull this up, show this, and then end the stream probably. Okay. Oh, so why is it that type of file? What? Okay, hold on. Save it as a PNG, please. It's super low quality though. Alterna sticker map. Okay. Yeah, see, this image is low quality. There's a bunch of... The individual ones are relatively high quality. But the combined one... Maybe the Splatoon wiki has it. Ooh, is this the high quality one? It is. Okay, this is the high quality one. Yeah, alright. And it's PNG. That's good. That's good. Okay, okay. Add image file, pictures, gaming, not that one. Where is it? Where is it? I have too many pictures. I should clean this out at some point. Where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Okay, see, that's what it looks like. So if we zoom up, this is the whole map. But this is the sticker map. I mean, obviously. Ooh, whoops. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom up here. Okay. So it's very cute and pretty cool, and I like it a lot. It's kind of got the big things on it. It has the golden record up in the top right. It has a bunch of smiley faces on everything. It's got a bunch of words everywhere. The one Moai head on the bottom left is saying something. There's kettles. If this could get translated, I would kind of love that. Because I bet... I don't know. See, the thing is, they don't always make everything translatable, just in general. They don't always write it. Because, like, you know, it's not all important, right? But I hope that since, you know, people have actually done the work at this point to figure out what is translatable in general and what is not, I hope that they are aware of that and are putting more effort into making some things translatable. But, so I really hope that this whole map is actually translatable. I should probably get into that scene of translating some of the stuff, but I just don't have the time right now. And they also have some numbers. That's interesting. That could be important, right? Because you know which islands are which numbers, and they have little symbols next to them. But we also see the rocket and like all of the fur fuzzy ooze that is brown all around. The Moai heads all have like funny little noses. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, well, we can delete that. Okay. But that's gonna do it for this stream. I guess, I mean, I could stay on. There's like a minute more. Is there anything left to do? Oh, I mean, I could talk about the final area a little bit. But we've already finished it. And I've already talked a lot about it. About how it looks, right? Like, from a world design. But I guess this is the final world that they've designed so far, right? Like, there's no... We don't know anything yet. We don't know if Splatoon, the DLC, will have worlds. Oh, you can see here that... well, there's actually another island over there, and there's one all the way over there. There's definitely stuff they could do with this area if they wanted to, but it's a very island hoppy but also urban, right? It seems, you know, there's kind of a view here that like it's urban from a suburban perspective where you go to specific places, right? So it kind of is kind of island hoppy, kind of interesting sort of deal. So yeah, pretty cool. There's also some other small islands, but I don't think those aren't too big, right? Like that one over there is like clearly big enough to be a level, and I think that one all the way in the corner. But you can see that like that's level 1, and then level 2 is across, and then level 3. Well, that's level 5, 4. Level 3 I think is all the way. You can't really see it from this perspective, but they could do a really cool like in space one. I think that's one of the things that I'm kind of talking about something else here a little bit, but that Tears of the Kingdom has showed that you can make a physics engine be more than just a physics engine, right? Like you can make a game that is designed around a physics engine that like works well, right? That the physics engine is a good implement and provides a lot of interesting gameplay to it. So if they were to make like a Splatoon game that was like taking mechanics of Kerbal Space Program or something like that, right? Like that would be very interesting. So, you know, that's probably the last I'll have to say about Splatoon. Well, okay, we're gonna finish this, but until the DLC releases, because the final level isn't. Well, there's some stuff to talk about, but it's not as interesting as the world design, in my opinion. So yeah. Also, the geography kind of implies that they had like 6 hills, which is kind of interesting, right? That this is like, or at the very least, if this is not a hill, this, or maybe they only have 5 hills, but this is a the buildings are just so tall here, that this is the urban area, and that level 1 is like a big hill, and level 2 is a big hill that they have a factory on, and like that they're all hills. They never explain what the deal is with this submarine. Why is it here? It's kind of a big piece of infrastructure, right? Like there's a lot of stuff here that doesn't even get explained even after, right? Like, I mean, that plus the plants, right? The fact that the plants are still growing in the these have plants in them. They're growing. They're not overgrown. They're like normal. Heck, they're like a little bit less actually. Like the plants in the back are clearly planted earlier, and these ones are a little bit smaller, unless they're lettuce or something. But like, this area seems to be not a completely abandoned, right? Like it's not. It's kind of in that weird in between where it seems like there are certain things that make it seem like it's being maintained, but it's just empty, right? Like an office building that has a lot of stuff in it that people have clearly, like, that nobody just happens to be here right now. Or like a park that's empty, right? That it's like a Saturday, or not a Saturday, like, it's like a park that it's on a Wednesday afternoon that no one's here, but it's clear that everything's still being maintained. You just go to the park and nobody's here. It's just empty. It's kind of an interesting vibe. Kind of a little bit like the Octo expansion ones, except, or not the Octo expansion, the first 2 games, except for the first 2 games was like, the vibe was different because you knew you were like behind enemy lines, kind of, right? It had that aesthetic of like you are actively moving into enemy territory, where this is like there's nothing evil out to kill you here, right? There's nothing actively imposing your involvement except for the environment. So, I don't know. Anyway, I talked a lot about stuff, so I hope people enjoyed that. And if not, you don't have to watch it. And if you watched all of it and you didn't like it, I don't know. You don't get to complain because I said so.